Ladies and gentlemen, it is official. Fujimoto has done it again. Chainsaw Man Chapter 218 is one of those rare moments that punches you directly in the gut. It twists the knife and somehow makes you thank him for it all over again. This chapter doesn't just move the plot forward. It digs into a deep, emotional portion of your soul, a portion of the story, and it forces us as readers to confront the brutal truth about guilt and forgiveness and the cost of love in a world that is ruled by devils. Mitaka, who started out part 2 of the story a little bit socially awkward, bitter at times, and a painful reminder of just how innocent high school students can be, she has finally arrived at the most heartbreaking part of her journey, the moment where she accepts her own death. But what makes this so haunting isn't the act itself. It's the fact that Mitaka is the one who is choosing it. She's not dying out of fear or despair. She's dying for Denji, someone who she cares for. She's dying for Chainsaw Man, someone she said she wanted to save. There's a lot to get into with this chapter in terms of what to unpack. So we're going to start first with the very quick recap, and then we're going to unpack what we got here. So this chapter kicks off with the battle at its blood-soaked peak. Mitaka, she's now realized she is out of time, and she does the unthinkable. She orders Denji to eat her. Her logic is tragically straightforward. She's done as good of a job as she can. She's as good as dead moving forward. Yoru, the war devil, she says was never going to willingly surrender her body back to her, and Mitaka knows that if the Death Devil ends up wiping out humanity, it's all for nothing anyway, and she says that Denji might be the one who can end up enduring it. Even makes a joke that Denji has a devil-like face, so he'll be okay. He'll be able to survive in a world that is ruled by devils, and also the fact that Denji can come back to life if he's killed. Denji, being the ever-reluctant hero, he hesitates. He's confused. I would even argue he's a bit traumatized and terrified. When he asks Mitaka, hey, what would happen to you? Mitaka's response is nothing short of pure heartbreak. She admits that she doesn't care anymore. She's haunted by guilt for everything that is that she's done, and she just wants to do one good thing before she dies. This is not an act of redemption. Instead, this is an act of acceptance. We then transition over to the real world where all the battling is taking place. Yoru, she's awakened again. She is extremely furious. She is vengeful. She is ready for all the drama right now. And so this leads to the Death Devil sacrificing her own blood to restore Pochita. And this sparks a heated clash between the horsewomen themselves. But right when it seems like the War Devil is getting ready to reassert her dominance on the battlefield, that's where Mitaka pulls the rug from underneath her. All throughout part 2, we've seen how Mitaka and Yoru go back and forth in control. This time, Mitaka, she's able to snatch back control briefly, just long enough that she pulls the trigger on herself right after Yoru says that the Death Devil is getting in the way of her holy war. This moment, it is very poetic. It is very violent. Mitaka's decision to blow off the top half of her head, it wasn't just self-destruction. It was also liberation. She is freeing herself from the very devil that has haunted her from the very day that she should have died in chapter 1 of part 2. And then that's when all hell breaks loose. Yoru's body gets sliced in half, while the Death Devil unleashes the Guillotine Devil, ordering it to destroy what's left of the War Devil. Her allies, they command Chainsaw Man to devour Yoru. The Death Devil's watching eagerly, but Denji / Pochita, they're as defiant as ever. And instead, he decapitates them. His message is clear. He's gonna save Mitaka no matter what. At least that's how I'm viewing it. Now, this is where this gets very interesting. Now that we got the recap out the way, Mitaka's character, if she does die here, she's come full circle. She's gone from being at death's door to now being a self-sacrifice for a noble cause. In order to truly understand what I mean by this and why this moment should hit you so hard, you have to go all the way back to part 2 in chapter 1. So in chapter 1 of part 2, Mitaka, she was supposed to die. She was supposed to have a lonely death. She was filled with a lot of regret. She was a resentful girl whose only defining trait was her moment where she said that if she could do it all over, she would have lived a little bit more selfishly. She was lamenting the fact that she was unable to connect with people. Yoru gave her a second chance at life, but it came at the cost of her own humanity, as we've seen. Mitaka, as a result of having that connection with Yoru, has done a lot of things that she wouldn't have done otherwise, good and bad. And now, after everything that she has endured, betrayal, humiliation, loss, her own moral failings, Mitaka has now finally taken back control in one way that matters the most. By choosing her own fate. This is empowering, and this had to happen after she learned what happened to her father and the role that she played in his death. Her willingness to die so Denji can live, it is a perfect and tragic mirror to her beginning. She started part 2 out where she was a bit angry at Chainsaw Man for living while others died. She ends up sacrificing herself so that Denji can now continue to live and save others. She once looked down on Chainsaw Man, thinking that he was only about saving females, to now truly understanding Denji, the man behind Chainsaw Man. And she has a couple of quotes in here that should really resonate. The first one being, "I've done a bunch of things that make me want to scream when I remember them." That single line, it encapsulates Mitaka's soul. It's not melodramatic. It's not flowery language either. This is just raw honesty. She's burdened by her mistakes. She is paralyzed by shame, I would argue, and she is desperately longing to make peace with herself. And then there comes a line that truly seals her emotional fate, or it sets the stage for her to be further redeemed and saved by Denji. She says that, "I can never forgive myself." This is Fujimoto at his cruelest and ironically his most humane. Mitaka's inability to forgive herself is what drives her to this final act. It's both redemption and punishment rolled into one. She wants to do something good, but she doesn't believe that she deserves to live afterwards. And that's what makes this whole scene so tragic. Through those lines, Fujimoto makes readers feel both compassion and frustration, or at least that's what he was going for. We want to shake Mitaka and tell her, "You've done enough. This isn't your fault." But deep down, we also understand her. This is what makes Mitaka's character, or what should make her character, more sympathetic. She's not a hero, nor is she a saint. She is a broken human being making one last desperate attempt to atone. And this gets bigger when you take into account that this is continuing Denji's endless cycle of loss. Let's not even talk about Naruto. Let's just look at part 1 of the story. What makes this even more devastating is how we're once again reopening some of the oldest wounds that Denji has in the story. The cycle of love and loss. Denji had to kill Aki when it came to the gun fiend. He had to watch his power die when Makima murdered her. And now he faces yet another tragedy. But this one is a bit different. Mitaka isn't being manipulated or killed by another. She's choosing to die for him. This, in a way, mirrors what happens with Himeno and with Aki. But choice, it doesn't make any pain that Denji is experiencing any easier. If anything, it makes it worse. Denji's curse is that everyone he grows close to, they either die or they become an enemy. Mitaka's self-sacrifice, while noble, it ensures that this cycle of heartbreak is going to continue for Denji. Fujimoto has turned Denji's life into another cruel loop where love always leads to loss every single time, and the wound, it just cuts even deeper. And it should be worth noting that not everything is bleak, because there are 2 wild cards in this entire situation, the Death Devil and Pochita, that might change everything. It just depends on whether or not you think that we are nearing the end of Chainsaw Man in terms of, is there any more story after the Death Devil? So just when you think that you process the emotion of that moment, Fujimoto throws in 2 massive curveballs when you read in between the lines. The first is the Death Devil, the mysterious and unpredictable horsewoman. Her motives, we don't know them in full. We just know she wants to stop Yoru. But one thing is clear, she has continued to orchestrate events beyond anyone's comprehension. She even pretended to be Famine the entire time. We are told just a few chapters ago that Denji couldn't trust her. The Death Devil's decision to summon the Guillotine Devil may hint at a much larger plan, one that could tie directly into humanity's collective fear of death itself. Because a reminder, devils get stronger the greater the fear of something is. Then there's Pochita. The Death Devil is ordering him to eat. Eat the War Devil. It's a command that, when you look at Pochita's character, directly clashes with his nature. Pochita basically hates being told to consume others, especially those who Denji cares for. Denji does care for Mitaka. This moment may mark a turning point for Pochita's autonomy, his morality, and his connection to Denji. They are going to be tested in ways that we may have not seen before, or Pochita could just stay fully loyal to Denji, which I think is more than likely going to be the case here, because Mitaka is the first female that Denji has had romantic feelings for since Reze, where things could have turned out differently. There is no Makima to keep Reze from going back to Denji. Pochita can still try to find a way to set the stage to save Mitaka from Yoru, though that will be tricky. This entire chapter, it was basically a symphony of tragedy. Chapter 218 is more than a battle chapter. It's, dare I say, a requiem. It's a collision of guilt and love, and ultimately inevitability when it comes to facing death. Mitaka's character, she has a full circle moment. It gives meaning to her suffering, because that's the purpose of surviving. To survive is to find meaning into suffering. And Denji's resistance, it cements his humanity in a world that is built on fear of devils. Mitaka's sacrifice, if it does come to this, if she does die here, it's not just the end of her story. It's the emotional heartbeat of Chainsman Part 2 finally potentially having some of its last heartbeats. And as Fujimoto continues to layer on more for the Death Devil, as well as Pochita's nature, it's clear the worst and ironically the most beautiful is yet to come in this story. Obviously, if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing and clicking here on the left to check out more videos from Anime Explained.